My beloved, hear me clearly now, for I am Archangel Michael, and I have been sent to reveal to you that what you called a loss was never destruction, it was divine realignment. You see, what was taken from you, what slipped through your trembling hands, what vanished without reason, was not the universe being cruel, but heaven stepping in to protect what is sacred in you. You have cried for what you could not keep, and in your tears, you've asked, why me? Why now? But what if I told you that very moment was the beginning of your restoration? What if the emptiness you felt wasn't punishment but preparation? You were never meant to stay where your soul couldn't grow. That sudden ending that shattered your routine, that unexpected goodbye, that loss that made you question your worth, it was a divine shift meant to remove what was silently draining you. God saw what you couldn't. He saw the thoughts spoken behind your back, the intentions masked as love, the opportunities that would have led you off your divine timeline. He saw the exhaustion you tried to hide behind your smiles, the nights you begged heaven to make it stop hurting, and he said, enough. My child deserves peace. That's when everything began to change. It may have looked like rejection, but it was redirection. The door that slammed in your face wasn't meant to imprison you, it was meant to save you from a storm you couldn't see coming. When you lost that job, that friend, that relationship, or that version of yourself you thought you needed to survive, you were being guided into a new frequency of purpose. What you lost was necessary for what's about to be restored. You think you're standing in ruins, but from heaven's view, this is the foundation being cleared for rebuilding. There are angels assigned to bring beauty from this chaos, but they can only move once you stop clinging to the ashes of what used to be. The pain you're feeling right now isn't a sign that something went wrong, it's proof that something holy is being rewritten in your life. The more it hurts, the deeper the healing. The heavier the loss, the greater the restoration. You've been asking heaven to restore you, and now, this is how that prayer is being answered. The silence after the loss is sacred, it's not emptiness, it's space being prepared for what's meant to enter. Every unanswered call, every door that didn't reopen, every person who never explained themselves, they were all part of a divine separation. You were not abandoned, you were handpicked for peace. Heaven had to remove what was misaligned so your blessings wouldn't be contaminated. You are not starting from scratch, you're starting from grace. The pain you carry now is not proof of punishment, it's evidence that God is still shaping your destiny. He is rebuilding what was broken, not by replacing it with the same, but by multiplying it into something greater. The storm that took from you will now give back in abundance. I want you to remember this: restoration doesn't begin when everything is fixed, it begins when you trust that even what's broken is part of God's plan. That sudden loss was not the end of your story, it was heaven's way of resetting your path towards something far beyond your imagination. This is not where it ends. It's where divine restoration begins, and soon, you'll see why the loss had to happen exactly the way it did. You may not realize it yet, but the loss that broke you open was actually heaven's greatest act of mercy over your life. I, Archangel Michael, have been walking beside you in every moment of silence, in every room where you felt unseen, guarding you while your soul learned to breathe again without what it thought it couldn't live without. That loss, sudden and sharp like lightning, wasn't random, it was timed. The divine does nothing without purpose, and though your human heart felt it as rejection, your spirit is beginning to understand it as release. There were things you couldn't hear while surrounded by noise, and that's why heaven had to remove what distracted you from your divine call. You saw something collapse, but heaven saw something open. You lost what felt safe, but heaven saw what was suffocating your light. It wasn't betrayal, it was redirection. Every unanswered message, every friend who drifted away, every opportunity that seemed to vanish overnight, it wasn't that you were forgotten, it's that you were being repositioned. You have been in the chrysalis stage, hidden from the world, stripped of familiar comfort so that transformation could begin. Do not mistake isolation for abandonment. This is where heaven performs its greatest work, behind the curtain, in the quiet, when no one else is watching. You have been crying, asking for signs, asking for reasons, wondering if the heavens have turned their back on you. But the truth is, child of light, you are being guarded so fiercely that even the things meant to destroy you have been redirected before they could reach you. That's why it ended so suddenly, because heaven stepped in between you and the danger you couldn't see. You thought you were losing something precious, but what was actually happening was divine substitution. The version of you that existed before that loss could not carry the blessing that's about to arrive. That person had attachments that were not aligned with where you're going. So, heaven said, we must remove, so we can rebuild. It's why things stopped making sense. It's why you felt disconnected from people and places that once felt like home. The vibration of your soul was rising, and the universe could not allow you to remain entangled with energies that belonged to your past. I know it hurts. I know you wish you could have one more conversation, one more closure, one more explanation. But understand this, closure is not always found in words, sometimes it's found in growth. Heaven didn't want you to have answers, because answers would have made you stay. And if you had stayed, you would have missed your resurrection. God is restoring what was lost, but not in the form you expect. It will come through divine encounters, new opportunities, unfamiliar faces, and peace that feels foreign at first because you've been in survival mode for too long. You've mistaken numbness for strength, but now heaven is healing the heart behind your armor. This restoration will not just give back what was lost, it will multiply it. You will look back soon and realize that what left your life was never meant to carry your destiny. The reason it hurt so deeply was because your spirit recognized the end of a chapter before your mind could accept it. But now, child, breathe. The loss was not the punishment, it was the prophecy. What was removed had to leave so what is promised could find its way to you. And soon, very soon, the same place where you wept will become the place where you rejoice, because heaven is already rebuilding your story from the ashes that tried to define you. The loss that came so suddenly was not a sign of heaven's absence, it was proof of divine precision. You see, what you called an ending was actually heaven's intervention, a rescue in disguise. You were holding on to something that was quietly draining your energy, weakening your faith, and silencing your intuition. I, Archangel Michael, saw what your human eyes could not. The moment you cried out for peace, the moment you whispered to God that you were tired of repeating painful cycles, that's when heaven moved. That loss was not cruelty, it was a response. Because sometimes, child, the only way heaven can save you is by removing what you refuse to let go of. There were conversations happening about you in the spiritual realm long before that goodbye ever came. There were warnings, nudges, red flags, but you chose to see the best in them, because your heart is pure. Heaven saw your loyalty, but heaven also saw how that loyalty was being misused. You gave love to people who saw your light as something to control. You stayed in situations that looked stable but were built on false promises. And so, when the walls crumbled, you thought you had been abandoned, but you were actually being set free. Every delay, every detour, every sudden change that made no sense, they were all part of a celestial rearrangement to realign you with your true purpose. You are being called out of familiar pain into unfamiliar peace. That's why nothing feels the same anymore. The music you used to love doesn't move you, the faces you used to chase don't excite you, and the dreams you once thought were yours suddenly feel too small. This is the sign that your soul is evolving. You are walking into a new frequency where only truth can follow. The divine is stripping away everything that cannot survive at that altitude. That loss? It was an evacuation before elevation. I know you've been asking why the people you loved most had to be the ones who hurt you the deepest. But hear this, sometimes, the hands that wound you are the same hands that teach you boundaries. The betrayal wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. Because only through heartbreak could your discernment sharpen, your vision clear, your connection to heaven deepen. You are no longer the same person who once tolerated chaos just to feel needed. You are becoming the person who chooses peace even when it's lonely. You are learning that closure is not something others give, it's something heaven grants. The pain that once made you question everything is now the very pain shaping you into someone unshakable. Heaven is not punishing you, heaven is preparing you. Every tear that fell was counted, and every prayer whispered in exhaustion was heard. The storm that came wasn't to destroy your foundation, it was to reveal what was truly built on faith. Because now, God can trust you with greater things, knowing you won't worship what He gives more than the one who gave it. The next season of your life will not be defined by loss, but by rebirth. You will start to see small signs. The way the air feels lighter when you wake up, the peace that finds you when you least expect it, the opportunities that appear without you having to chase them. These are not coincidences, they're confirmations. You're being guided toward restoration. The people who left your life made space for the ones heaven has chosen. The doors that closed were not locked, they were sealed to protect your anointing. What's coming is sacred, and it required your solitude. This is why heaven had to isolate you before the blessing arrived, because where you are going, not everyone can follow. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not being punished. You are being purified, strengthened, and prepared for a chapter that will require your full power. Soon, you'll understand that your sudden loss was never a tragedy, it was the beginning of your divine restoration, the prelude to a miracle written with your name on it. And now, beloved one, Archangel Michael, speak over you not as a distant guardian but as one who has walked beside you through the ashes of what fell apart. The time of mourning what was is ending, and the time of seeing why it happened is beginning. Heaven is unveiling the reason behind the loss that once broke you. That sudden shift, that painful goodbye, that unanswered question, it was never random. You were not forgotten in that moment, you were being rescued from something that would have silently stolen your destiny. You keep asking, why did I have to lose it all at once? And the answer is simple, because heaven couldn't wait any longer for you to realize your worth. The longer you stayed, the more of your light was dimming, and I could no longer allow that. What you thought you needed was only meant to carry you for a season. You've been holding on to temporary things with eternal hope, but child, what's eternal cannot decay, cannot betray, and cannot leave. What's coming next will not require you to beg for consistency or fight for clarity. It will be heaven's confirmation that the loss was never the end, only the clearing before your true calling. This next chapter will not arrive as chaos, but as calm. It will not come dressed as confusion, but as alignment. You will know it's from God because it will not drain you, it will develop you. But first, heaven asks you to let go of the timeline, the memory, the guilt. You keep replaying the story as if changing one decision could have saved it. Yet heaven says, if it could be saved, I would have saved it. You must stop blaming yourself for what had to end, because what ended was divinely interrupted. This is why I closed that door so abruptly. If you knew what was waiting behind it, you would have thanked heaven for breaking your heart when it did. The one who left was not your forever, they were your awakening. Their absence created the silence through which God could finally speak. You see, sometimes God will break your heart to remove your idol. You were starting to depend on their voice more than His. That's why the silence that followed felt unbearable, it was sacred space being made for divine instruction. And though you felt lonely, you were never alone. I was sent to stand between you and the darkness that tried to convince you your story was over. Every time you almost gave up, I whispered, hold on, the pain is purifying you. Every tear you shed watered the soil of your next miracle. You've been healing in ways you don't even realize. Your mind is clearer, your spirit is lighter, your discernment stronger. The things that used to tempt you no longer have the same pull, and the people who once intimidated you no longer disturb your peace. That's not coincidence, that's transformation. You are not who you were before the loss. You are wiser now, anchored in faith rather than emotion, rooted in purpose rather than validation. Heaven has been reconstructing your foundation so that when restoration comes, you will not crumble under the weight of the blessing. Because the next blessing will be big, bigger than what was taken, greater than what was lost, more aligned than what you were begging to keep. This is not a recovery season, this is a rebirth season. God will restore what was stolen, yes, but He will also reveal what was hidden, your own strength, your divine authority, your calling that was buried beneath compromise. You will start to notice divine connections appearing, people who speak life into your dreams, environments that feed your peace, opportunities that require your authenticity instead of your performance. These are heaven's replacements for what you mourned. You are walking into a space where everything that once confused you will suddenly make sense. That betrayal? It was redirection. That loss? It was liberation. That silence? It was strategy. And soon, the very place that broke you will become the platform from which you'll rise. Heaven is turning your grief into guidance, your pain into prophecy. You are no longer being buried, you are being planted. Rise with the knowing that your restoration is not coming, it's already unfolding. Heaven has declared your name in rooms of destiny, and I, Archangel Michael, will ensure that every force that once tried to delay you now becomes the reason you accelerate. You survived what was meant to end you because heaven was preparing to crown you. Stand tall now. Breathe again. Look forward. For the sudden loss you feared was not the end of your story, it was the divine spark that set your true restoration into motion, and heaven promises, this time, nothing and no one will be able to take it from you.